Welcome to the Health In Show, an affiliate program of Homeopathy World Community. I'm your host, the founder of the Homeopathy World Community Social Network, Debby Bruck. Thank you to all our viewers and listeners. We've been very encouraged to get your votes, and we are in the running for that grant, that small business grant. So we give our gratitude to you. Today is July 2, 2012. One day after July 1, Canada Day, I'm learning. It's a patriotic day in Canada. And we want to thank our producer, Amnon, for working the boards back here and getting everybody up online. If anyone needs help with their computer needs, you can give Amnon a call and listen to his show, which is on Sunday mornings. Go to Nissan Communications. And we would also like people to share this link with their friends. There's no delay. Just go right over there to Twitter, to Facebook, MySpace, Dig, wherever you'd like, and let them know that the show is live and we have archives. For those people who want to get involved in the show, you can call in via your Skype or at Computers 2K Voice, or if you live in the United States, you can call into 919-518-9773. We're having a special guest today. I'm so pleased to introduce you to John Board, film producer, and his journey through health. And we're so proud of him because he also has won an award to produce a film about his healing journey. It's going to be called, I believe, Me, the Bees, and Cancer. He was recently diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he is feeling uplifted and spirited. John, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm so happy to see you, looking fit and trim. And
by the way, just one little correction.
Go ahead.
I have a Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh, Hodgkin's, not non-Hodgkin's. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And this was diagnosed in 2010, but he is a film producer who has worked with many of the greats over the years, and he worked with Louis Malle, assisted his direction, the notable director of Louis Malle and Norman Jewison, as well as several pictures with David Cronenberg. His interest in homeopathy began in 1886. No, you have a wrong number. 1986, unless you're older. You know, you've gotten, you look good for your age.
I got to tell you, preserved.
You are preserved. And when he realized that, John, when you realized you had arthritis in your hand and it was very painful, you went to the Thompson's Homeopathic shop in Toronto, where you live, and that is a shop that has been there since 1868, as you told me, and the remedies there that they gave him were created a life pain-free for 10 years. So John really was excited. He began carrying the remedies and books onto the film sets and eventually became known as Dr. John. And Dr. John created 2 kits for sale called the Hollywood Survival Kit. It contains 12 remedies, and the Pocket Pack contains 5 remedies. And I'm sure you're going to tell us a little bit about that during our interview. I'd also like to mention that he has been a Homeopathy World Community member since it began in 2009. So we have a lot to talk about with you about your journey to health, your journey to learning about homeopathy and the remedies and creating the survival kit so that you could help others, and the most recent news about winning the prize to make a documentary feature. So I'm going to let you tell us where you would like to begin with this. And I wonder, is Dr. Sharma with us today? Yes. Okay. On the side, we have our co-host, Dr. Sharma from India, calling in, and we're going to hear his voice if he has any contributions today.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say hello, Dr. Sharma.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for being here with me. So I'm basically sitting in the middle of the city of Toronto on a very nice, warm, hot day. I've had my bee stings this morning about an hour and a half ago. I'm currently taking 20 bee stings at a time, which I get from a little hive in the backyard. I pick them out and put them in clamps, in hemostats, and then I press them against my skin where I wish them to sting. And I do that every other day. But that's just the present where we are. Where should we start? I think it's always wonderful to start with homeopathy, and I would love to start with when I had arthritis. I had arthritis in this hand, and these, different knuckles.
Yes.
I couldn't close this finger, my baby finger. I couldn't close. I can't do that. How do I do that on camera? There, this finger here, it closes now. I couldn't close that.
And this was before or after the bee stings?
No, this is 1986 actually. When
Okay, so that was some time ago, and you were having trouble moving, and your joints were very painful.
They were just in the one hand. If I put them in warm water, that would help. But so I had that problem. I don't think it's an uncommon problem. I went to them and they said it was either, I thought it was rheumatism or arthritis. And they said probably arthritis. They gave me 2 bottles of remedies. They told me they cost $11 each. And I asked them if that was for the rest of my life, I would be buying that. And they said, no. If it doesn't start to work in 2 or 3 weeks, you come back. Then we didn't understand what you had said. Well, that sounded fair. So I took it. And the first thing, the pains went away slowly but surely. But before that, some knuckles that weren't began to hurt like crazy, just for a minute or 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. And it felt as though that the remedy was now coming face to face with the advanced army that was getting, advanced troops that were getting ready to attack yet the next knuckle. And that we're doing them in before they could attack the next knuckle. So they were really the strongest of the troops attacking me. And it felt very much like a war in there. And then suddenly, nothing hurt. I didn't need hot water. I didn't need anything. And the next thing, lo and behold, my baby finger, I can begin to close until I can close it like that. You see?
Wow. So a lot of people would really want to be able to be in that position because they cannot move their joints. And you're saying that was this one remedy that was given?
No, it was a combination. It was RP, which I think it had sulfur and arnica in it, and the ART had I honestly don't know. I think it was Tox and Ruta, but I don't know what the third and fourth remedies were. But they were all, I think they were mixtures that had come right from the beginning of the shop. You'd have to ask Norbert Goldman, or if you go on their site, it'll tell you what the actual remedies in those are. But they were what it was an epiphany for me. What was this? What was this stuff I'd just taken? I knew arnica. I'd worked when I did Agnes of God for Norman Jewis, and Jane Fonda used to go to the little towns nearby, and she at that time had a workout video that she was selling nationally and internationally. So she would go to little towns near where we were filming, into the church, and we would do all her exercise, up and down and all that stuff. So that was great fun, except that when I came home, my muscles were just as sore as can be because I wasn't in shape like she was in shape. So I had found this stuff, arnica cream. It's very, very good. If I put arnica cream on, I found that by the next morning, my pain was gone. So I knew about arnica cream, and I knew about Rescue Remedy for many years because once when I was emotionally not really very together, I'd left my wife, my first wife, and my marriage hadn't been good, and the situation I found myself in was good, but I wasn't able to accept it. And the person gave me rescue remedies to try to calm me, which it did. So I knew those two remedies, but I didn't know anything about homeopathy really. And once I did the RP and the ART for my arthritis and started to clear, I got really, really excited about homeopathy and began to feel very much that, wow, this was something I better start to look into, start to read about, start to learn about.
You're a beautiful example of someone who starts with a combination or a mixed remedy, finds that it works for them, and then begins to investigate. So then what happened next?
Well, the next thing that happened is I realized that they had no side effects. Oh, that was good, because all actors, all crew, all the people who work on films work long hours and are very tired, often, and stressed out. And medications really affect them. And as you know, most of the medications that we take, whether it's Tylenol or, or an antibiotic or whatever, has side effects. So we immediately think about not doing that. Well, actors think about not doing it a great deal, even though we all have the wonderful, oh, he's a druggie, oh, that guy does cocaine or whatever. But boy,
you were helping people who were on drugs?
No.
Whoa.
You gotta listen. If you get up in the morning, you listen well. No, what I'm saying is, unlike drugs,
okay,
homeopathy doesn't have side effects. And although people think that actors are all out in left field doing drugs, that isn't really the case. Most of them are very, 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 very strict, not only with what they eat, but what they will take in order to feel better.
It seems like to be beautiful, to be a model, to be thin, you'd have to take really good care of yourself. So you're telling us that it's a misconception about all of these people who are on drugs.
Yes. They do have their weekends. Like everybody has their weekends, and they have a couple of beers and they have a couple of drinks, and maybe somebody gets drunk. So they do have their weekends. They're normal people that way, but they're not continually on some sort of stimulant of one sort or another. Although I will say, I think ordinary people are on stimulants all the time. If we look at all the different energy drinks that are being sold now, those are all stimulants.
John, could you do me a favor and click on your camera to shut your video down and then turn it back on because it froze?
Okay.
Yeah, so we're learning a little bit from the inside Hollywood that we do get a misconception a lot because what we get reported in the news is a lot of chatter and gossip column stuff, in not real life, just the normal day-to-day life of the people who live in Hollywood and are stars. They probably go to the gym a lot and take classes and do things to study and be able to perform their lines, and it's hard work. And so John was there on the set as a director quite often, helping out his colleagues, his fellow actors and actresses whenever something happened. He also has created, and we've got them some time ago, about a couple of years ago, he created a couple of little video film shorts for the kit that he created, where he's really a comedian of sorts and a dramatist, and he does the whole production of being an actor in his film, producing the film, and I'm sure that he had a cameraman with him who was helping him. Who else is with us on the set? Is that
right now?
Dr. Sharma, are you live? Are you with us?
Yes, but the voice is not clear today. I do not know why, because the connection are good here.
Okay, I see him now. I hope you're going to tell us also that you're doing great because you just came back from vacation.
Yes, it was really nice vacation also, and we go to a mountainous and we enjoy a lot.
Right. He's Dr. Sharma.
Very hot weather, and
Dr. Sharma sent me some photographs from his pictures up in the mountains, and it's like he was on Mount Everest. It's just the scenery is enlightening and awe-inspiring. So I think I would say everybody at one time in their life needs to go visit up to India. So, John, are you back with us?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay.
I was trying to create my camera.
I guess we're just having a little technical difficulties today, but we're used to that. And so we've been talking to John Board, film producer who lives in Toronto, Canada, and about his experience, his journey to health. He is presently doing bee sting therapy. He has a little hive of bees out in his backyard where he goes out each day and does about 20 stings. I know before when I was talking to him, his goal was to reach 500 stings to see what results were going to occur from that. And he was up to either 200 or 300 stings at the time that I spoke to him last. And this is a form of medicine that has been around for thousands of years. And also, many people right here in North Carolina, where I live, use this type of therapy for their rheumatism, for their arthritis. They go on a regular basis to people who are experienced in this type of therapy. They know exactly what they do. They use tweezers and they pick up the bee and put that little bee stinger right on the skin and zap it in specific places all over. I'm not really sure whether it is along meridian lines, whether they are experienced in acupuncture and acupressure, whether they also have degrees in chiropractic, but it is becoming more and more common for people to go for this type of therapy when you have the experience. Dr. Sharma, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the bee and the kind of symptoms we would expect from a bee sting.
Yes, basically bee sting, we are consulting about homeopathic remedies. Apis is also made by the bee, the poison collected by the bee. And we definitely got the symptom like bee sting, like the swelling on the part, on the pitching pain in the swelling, the eruptions like the dryness on the outer skin.
We're having trouble with our connections today. For some reason, the spirits are not aligned. So you can always put those notes into the chat where you're familiar with doing that, and we can get the information out to the people. So I think we're back online with John, and I was just saying that you had a goal of 500 stings.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, when we are talking about the homeopathic remedy, the Apis mellifica, made by the bee poison, and it is very mentally so when have a moderate anger. He is quite not understandable always. He has a swelling like edema, which will be fitting, or if we are talking about the men, the females are more affected. And
okay, John, I think we're back with you live now from Toronto, and continue your story. I kind of took us off track simply because we lost connection. So tell us, go back on to where you were talking about being on the set and helping other people.
Okay, before I do that, I'd like to correct a couple of things. I take a my therapy, the stings I take every other day. I take 20 under my arm, which is under my right arm, where right in the area of the tumor, the lymphoma, the swollen lymphoma glands. And I also take 3 to 5 in the top of my head, the top meridian, right at the crown, right in the very center in the top of my head. If my picture weren't frozen, you'd be able to see my hand. But from ear to ear and up from my nose to my head, you would come to a spot. It's a little soft spot in the center. And that's just to keep my moods more equal, and works very well. So I've done about 300. And the reason I wanted to do this documentary was I felt that between the moves from 300 to 600 bee stings, that there would be really a telling result, especially if I really cleaned up my act totally. So on Canada Day, I stopped smoking and I stopped drinking coffee. So I will not do those things minimally for a month, and with good luck, I will not do them for the rest of my life. Hopefully a long one.
Well, I'm going to pray for you that it works, and that not only will you be able to stop smoking and not drinking coffee for the month, because I know you can. I'm also not drinking coffee, but I never smoke, but I'm not drinking coffee, and it's been a month, and I know that you can do it. It's possible that we can, if we set our mind to it, do whatever we are determined in and put the intention in doing.
There's no problem in doing that. I haven't quit smoking. I'm not stopping smoking. I don't smoke. You understand? It's quite a different mental attitude.
That's good. Teach us more about that.
I don't drink coffee. Oh, I thought you drank coffee. No, I don't drink coffee. Oh. And suddenly your mind is quite different set. It's quite a different set. I'm stopping. Oh, I'm quitting. Oh yeah, I've been 2 days. Oh, I've been 4 days. Those are all things that we tease ourselves with and pray. And boy, I've been on that for forever, lots of times. The first time I ever quit smoking, I was in Israel. It was 1983, I think. I was on a movie that you might know of, a series, a short 3-part movie called Evergreen with Armand Assante and Leslie Warren, I think, was the actress. And it took place in Israel. Now you've gone off my picture, so I wonder if you're there.
We're here. Can you hear us?
I'll keep talking.
Keep talking.
Well, so I was on this picture, and it was Yom Kippur. We were in Tiberias. I was on the 11th floor of I think it was a Canadian Pacific Railway hotel or a Canadian Steamship Line hotel, but it was a Canadian-owned hotel. And when I looked out the window, I saw the Sea of Galilee, and beyond that, I saw the Golden Heights, and I could hear the children playing in town, and no motors, and it was just a very special feeling because my mother's Jewish, so I was Jewish, and the Sea of Galilee was also special for me because I'm also Christian by upbringing, and of course all the stories of Christ. But also I was a smoker, and we just were dying for my first cigarette in the morning, and it was sunny, and just everything was nice. And I went over to a brand new package, not a package, a tin of drum tobacco that I bought, and I was so happy, and I opened it, and it was stale. The worst thing for a smoker is to have a stale tobacco. Well, all right, that was terrible. I'd have to get some apple peels and pear peels and orange peels and put them in, and it would get them. It would humidify the place a little, the tobacco. So I could do that. So then I looked for my papers, and I couldn't find my papers. So I finally rolled it in a newspaper. Well, it was about a half inch around and 4 or 5 inches long, and it was. I tell you, 2 drags of that was enough to just kill a cow, because it had because of course it had all the acid from the paper in it, all the ink acids, And I had about four puffs, and I turned to my son, who was 19 and was with me, and I said, you know what? I'm going to quit smoking. And I quit. I quit right there, and then I smoked for 5 years. For the first week or two, my son would come along and say, are you okay? Are you okay, John? You're really okay? Yeah, I'm fine. It doesn't bother you? No. No, I quit. I'm not smoking. I don't smoke. So that was the first time, and I quit actually for 5 years or so. And that was when I went through my epiphany with the with Thompson's and with the beginning of my arthritis. And the bag I carry now must have 200 or 300 remedies in it, and has 2 or 3 books.
The person whom you're trying to reach.
Oops, sorry. Okay, so this is great. Tell us about the epiphany. You're having a lot of things happening simultaneously or in the same time period in your life?
Well, that was the epiphany I had when I had arthritis. That was just a real realization that, gosh, what was that did that? How did it do it? What can I learn from this? This is just, mind blowing. When I'm a kid of 14, I'm watching 13 and 12, sorry, not 14, 12 and 13. I'm watching my father every Saturday morning operate. He's a surgeon. I think there's nothing nicer than surgery. There's nothing more beautiful than the inside of the body. I want to be a doctor, but I can't. I'm dyslexic a bit, and I can't remember or words that are longer than 2 or 3 syllables. And if they're strange in their way, I don't understand them at all. So I was but I was delighted to meet homeopathy and read about Hahnemann, and I actually licensed a book about Melanie called A Homeopathic Love Affair, and I tried to turn that into a movie, but I wasn't capable of it at that time. So I really did what I could, and I got more and more and carrying more and more remedies and learning more and more and using it more and more. And then I wanted to say, how do I help the world? How can I help the world? How can I make a difference? How can I get people to understand this? How can I get people to know what I know? Even though I'm not that well educated, how can I get them to feel something about homeopathy and about how good it is? And that's when I conceived my kit. And there are actually 2 herbals in it. The throat sprays are herbal, and there are 2 creams in it, which are made from homeopathic remedies, one calendula and one arnica, and then there's seven remedies in the kit, in the big kit. All of them are good. I can, you said before we began, you said, tell me how one of the remedies, a story about one of the remedies. Well, before I ever had a kit, I was on a film with Meatloaf, and I was helping different people with different things. And he came into my office one day and said, hey, I hear you got some really great stuff for sleeping. And I said, yeah, I do. Sure, just great. I knew it was not Nux vomica from overwork, although he was working like a Trojan, but it was rather from an overactive mind, because his mind never turned off, and it was absolutely like a cage. He just, everything that went in it stayed in it. He remembered every move he made. It was just wonderful. He was writing songs. He had his band up. They were recording on weekends. They would go away and do gigs. So I said, you think before you go to sleep. Oh yeah, I'm just thinking like crazy, John, all the time. So I gave him some coffee pills in a little baggie, and I said, take one of them and come and see me tomorrow morning. Take it half an hour before you go to sleep. So he came the next morning. He said, oh, John, does that stuff ever work? I took 8 of them, and they just knocked me. And I, more fame than anything else, just playing with him, but being very serious, said, how dare you? How dare you come to me and ask me for help? And I tell you to here's some pills, take one at a time, and you should take 8. How dare you disobey me? That's rude. Oh, I'm sorry, John, I didn't mean to. I said, all right, now tonight, you take 1 and come back and see me, exactly what I told you to. Because you just wasted 7 pills.
Oh, dear.
No. 1 is as good as 7.
So is coffee in your kit? Is it one of the remedies for those folks?
It's in both my kits. In my little pocket pack, which I sell now, is aconite, arnica, coffea, nux, and of course, my number 1 remedy, rescue remedy.
Oh, okay.
Always I would have rescue remedy as the number 1 remedy. I know it's not homeopathic. I know it's a flower remedy, but it's a great friend. It's a great friend. It's like somebody puts his arm around your shoulder and says, I know this isn't pleasant, but come on, we can do it.
Well, that must really touch you, that the rescue remedy really works for you. It's interesting, though, that you have selected coffea as one of your top remedies for the people who are working in the industry.
Well, it's a woman's remedy. What do we know about it? Multitasking. What do they all take those antidepressants for? Multitasking. Do I iron this shirt? Do I make the food? Do I change the baby's diaper? And which one do I do first? Because I can only do one because I got to go to work in 20 minutes. How do women do it?
Well, you really understand the woman's thinking, huh?
No, I understand they're brainless twits, and I'm a brainless twit. Not together well.
I guess we're all a little dyslexic, huh?
But honestly, seriously, I was going out to talk to a woman's show with my big kid, and I was talking to my daughter-in-law, who was a doctor, and I said, what do I talk to women about? And she said, John, coffea. And I said, well, why coffea? And this was a medical doctor. She said, well, John, most of the women who come to me because they're actually multitasking, and we don't really understand what multitasking is and how it can destroy a person's life. Well, yeah, I guess so. I said, I don't really understand this too well. She said, well, John, think about it. Think about the woman who's at home, and it's, 11:45, and she's got to make the boys' lunch who's coming home from school, and the little girl is beside her at 2, and she's got to change that diaper, and there's some stuff in the laundry because she had to do a laundry this morning, and then there's the on and on. On and on. They're always got 3 or 4 things they have to do.
Well, what about all the children today? Computers that we are dealing with, and our gadgets and our mobile phones, and there's so many apps, and people are switching their brain thinking process from one thing to we're not really focusing on one thing, picking up a book and really reading it and letting everything else flow to the side, but we're really just we're constantly having distractions.
It's true. The constant distraction is there. We can say, oh, it shouldn't be, but it is there, and it's constant, and it's there all the time. And most of us live in that world of many things happening at the same time, or very close to the same time. There are people who are listening to me right now and reading a letter or reading an article of somebody else's.
Right.
Or lunch. They just are. And yes, we are all multitasking. And coffea becomes very vital often when we say we want to rest. So we use it at sleep time. But using it in the daytime, it brings a great cohesion to the mind and focuses the mind as to what is number one and what I should be doing and getting on with it. And I remember I was doing a film with Amnon Bookbinder, who's got the same first name as your wonderful technician.
Amnon Bookbinder?
Yeah, he's a filmmaker in Toronto. And on the first day, we had a lot of students from the university and 2 or 3 professionals. And one was the head electrician. And he came over to me and he said, John, I don't know where to start. I'm going crazy here. I've got to take all sorts of stuff down to the beach, and I just don't know where to start. I mean, these guys don't know anything, you know. I've got to tell everybody everything. I said, here. And I gave him he said, do you have something for that? And I said, yeah. And I gave him a coffee. I gave him a coffee. I didn't know why, really, because that was the middle of the day, and he was just saying he was, confused. He got too much going on in his brain. Tell you, that guy ran by me. 5 minutes later, maybe 10 at the most, ran by, his arms full of different sizes of cables.
Yeah.
Stopped for a minute and said, John, I can't tell you how different this is. I can't tell you how different this is. Jesus, John, thanks so much, and was gone.
Right, it makes an incredible difference, doesn't it? And I'm thinking that in Hollywood, there's such stimulation all over the place. And in the chat, we have Dr. Deepak Sharma said that coffee has symptoms of the effect of sudden emotions, especially pleasurable ones. So you can think, winning awards, getting announcements, going to auditions, all different reasons for folks in Hollywood that the coffee homeopathic remedy might come in handy. And I'm thinking of all the lights in Hollywood, of all that stimulation.
Well, yeah. I mean, our brains are all over the place now, and unfortunately, sometimes it's not a very good effect that it has. But I do think, I guess, our brains must be changing in how their size, how they operate now. I don't know. I mean, I'm not wise enough to know that. But I can tell.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just thinking also about all the coffee shops that have sprung up as hangouts for people to sit around. I mean, it used to be we would go for a soda or we would go for an ice cream, and now it's going for a coffee and all these different kinds of coffees. And I'm wondering, maybe Dr. Deepak Sharma could tell us if it would counteract the effects for people who are sensitive to drinking coffee especially. And also, Dr. Kavitha Kukunur is on the chat with us today. So she's saying she's very inspired by your stories with homeopathy, John. So I guess she wants to hear more about them.
Well, there are lots of them. I'll tell you a story about rescue remedy, though. You say, oh, it's nice rescue remedy work. I'll tell you two stories. One, I was talking to a woman about rescue remedy, and I was getting some more. And she said, I just heard this story from a friend of mine. I said, what? She had a daughter who was 7, and she had a rescue remedy spray. And when the daughter was, off the wall crying or, having the tantrum that kids sometimes will have, she would spray her with the rescue remedy. And the kid took it to school and sprayed everybody in the class before the teacher got there. Everybody. Well, of course, one of the kids said, guess what Mary did, and it got to be a big moment in the school, and, but everybody settled down. They did the day. The woman came at the end of the day to pick up her child, went to the office, of course, to say, I'm sorry, and so forth and so on. And she said she was sorry, and everybody laughed and giggled, and it wasn't a funny thing that happened. And at the end, the teacher who had taught that class came over to her and said, in all my years of teaching, I've never taught a class that was kinder or nicer or more friendly to each other and to myself and more attentive and more able to do their work than this class today. And the only difference is the rescue remedy that child gave everybody in that class this morning.
Wow.
That's true. It's a wonderful story. And I'll tell you a story about being on film set. When I was with a world-class actress who had won many, many awards, many awards for stage work in New York, in different countries. I mean, she was a Shakespearean actor, and we had hired her because we had 6-page days, which is a lot of days, and we were doing this courtroom drama, and we wanted her to be the attorney, and we were only going to get her for 2 days, so she was going to have to do 12 pages of dialogue in 2 days, and that's a really lot of work. But she was a champion. She was a champion. We were asking a champion to come and do champion work, and she got there, and gosh, she couldn't walk, she couldn't talk properly. Nothing went on right. It was a fiasco for the first hour and a half. And I could feel the pressure on my back from the director, because he knew that instead of having the flowing shots of this person, speaking to the jury and then going over towards the judge and so forth and so on, all those things that you expect in the courtroom, he was going to have to cut tight little shots. It wasn't going to work. Nothing was going to work. And I was just feeling the pressure, and finally said, hold it. Let's take 15 or 20 minutes. I have to build the crane, because we got some shots, because the extras have come. And of course we had the extras for the courtroom, and I was going to have to take high and wide shots with movements in them. And I knew that we better take a break, or somebody was going to blow a gasket. So we took a break, and I walked over to the lady, and knowing that I could be fired, believe me, knowing that I could be fired, I said very quietly, I said, when I'm having a difficult day, and today is a difficult day for me, Christopher Plummer's here. There was a famous model that was with us. I can't remember her name. And this lady. And I've got 300 extras, and I've got to do a lot in a day, and I've got to lead it all and make it all work. When I have a day like that, I put 3 drops of Rescue Remedy in my water. This is a bottle of Rescue Remedy, and it's good, and it just seems to calm me down, because I can get really, really angry very quickly if things aren't going the way they're supposed to go. And I realized that I think you're not having as good a day as you want. Well, she couldn't walk, she couldn't talk, we couldn't get one line out of her. Of course she was having a terrible day. And she looked at me and she said, John, anything would be better than this. And she was serious. She was a good actress. And I said, well, I took out my bottle. If you'll let me put some drops in. So I brought a bottle of water over, put 3 drops in. She came back 10 minutes later, got another bottle, filled it. She drank both of them before we started again. And I tell you, we did the first take, and it wasn't bad, and the second take was good, and after that, we aced the day. The woman relaxed. And about an hour later, I saw that she had a sty over her eye. And I said, I see you have a sty over your eye. And she said, I've been taking antibiotics and penicillin. I've taken everything, steroids. They've given me everything for this, John, over the last couple of weeks. Nothing's moving. And of course, that's why she was absolutely unbalanced. Side effects. And I said, let me read my books, and I got her some a remedy. I think it was a fluorescent or something. What is it? Fluoride. It was a fluoride that I got her, that it called for. And the next morning she came and said, God, it's starting to go away. You're wonderful. And she stayed in town an extra day to go to bookshops and to the homeopathic shops that I could send her to. Those are true stories.
That's incredible. I mean, that you are able to help other people. We also always want to let everyone know that on these shows, if you need medical care, to always seek a physician, to seek out a homeopath in your area. We have plenty of homeopaths on Homeopathy World Community, and you can always contact me and ask for a reference. But Rescue Remedy is something that you can find in any store, in the flower remedies, that flower essences that anybody can get over the counter. And as well, these homeopathic remedies are over the counter energy medicines that anybody can get on their own. It's always good, though, to study and get some special information from people who are professionals. Is Kavitha on the line with us? We have Kavitha Kukanor who's called in. Did you have a comment or a question?
Comment, Debbie. Hello, John. It was very nice hearing your stories about the rescue remedy and overall about homeopathy. Thank you so much. I just called to say thank you.
How nice of you. Yeah, we're hearing these stories from John, how he has found relief from pain, and because he fell in love with homeopathy, he started investigating it enough to actually create his own kits. And now he's on stage sets and production crew, helping the crew when they come in with a poor mood or some kind of problem. he has his handy dandy remedies. Besides, how many did you say you had, John?
In the pocket pack, there are 5 remedies, four remedies plus rescue remedy: aconite, arnica, coffea, nux vomica, and all in the 30s, all C30,
Okay.
and then the rescue remedy.
And then you have a larger kit.
The larger kit right now I'm not making. I'm just waiting. I'm still waiting. I've made all my liaisons with India, and I'm just now have to raise a little bit of money to buy the kit, the small pocket pack again, and really start going forward. I'm making the documentary feature. One of the reasons I wanted to make the documentary feature was to raise my own profile. If I can succeed in the hour-and-a-half movie that I'm making, which I only have a month to shoot, the month of July. If I can succeed with that and bring an audience, it will of course move me forward into a better place. And I hope that because I don't smoke and because I don't drink coffee, that I possibly will be making the little bit of difference that I need to make. Because actually I've had this cancer for 2 years. In Costa Rica, I went down to 123, and I thought, boy, I'm about to die. But I didn't die. And I started to walk and hitchhike down to the ocean every day. The most I walked in a day was 20 kilometers. But I walked, and I rode, and I walked, and I drank, coconut water straight from the fresh coconuts, and then the gel out of it. And then I swam in the ocean, and I walked back in hot weather. But I gained, by the time I came back, I gained 9 pounds. Or 8 pounds. I was 130, I think, when I came back. Now I'm 133. So I know I'm actually, and my blood tests were a little better than when I went down. So I am improving. But I realized smoking, and I was smoking a lot, and drinking coffee, and I was drinking coffee a lot, were just actually not helping me at all. So I said, all right, in July the 1st, I will stop. I will do the bee stings. I've done 250 now. I'll be up in the 500-600s by the time the month is out, because I do it every other day, and I do 20 or so stings. I should have a good indication as to whether I'm getting better or not. And that, after all, is what the documentary is going to be about. Me, the bees, and cancer. And of course, it'll go into the epiphany I had. It'll go into, all the different things that went on during my work on different feature films.
If there's any way that we can help you. So I'm just thinking, when you were saying you don't smoke and you don't drink coffee, and if everybody would take the money that they would normally put into something of those recreational activities into a piggy bank, they could save a lot of money. And if they took that money, is there a donation link on your website? And we want to let people know about that too.
I wish there was. No, there isn't. I need a few $1,000s to buy the sum total of the remedies for my kit that's being made in India. If I can only buy 100 of them, they cost twice as much as if I can buy 5,000. So of course I need like $50,000. So it's a little bit of an investment. But I'll find a person out there who wants to do it.
Right. Well, if we publicize this, we could maybe help you out, and maybe we can get folks to donate in some way.
I'm always willing to take a donation, but honestly, I am looking for a sum of money to do it properly. And I can actually hang by my thumbs. This documentary feature is $1,000 to make it total. $1,000, 4 weeks to shoot it, 6 weeks to edit it, and I'll do that. I'm lucky. I've got a wonderful cameraman who lives in my house. His name is Hector Centeno, and he's just great to be with me. But gee, $1,000, why, that's enough for lunch for 10 people. That's it.
Right. So you're going to be doing the whole production with your cameraman. Do you have any other assistants?
No. A couple of mice that I'm trying to get rid of in my
Cinderella.
Yes, yes. I'm waiting for them to turn into the prince.
Okay.
So, it
Dr.
was
Sharma?
nice to hear, John, about your coffee experience. But can you share any experience with the aconite as a rescue remedy?
Aconite? Aconite, first sign of a cold. Boy, I tell you, I give that out by the handful in Canada in the winter or in the fall when we're out shooting and somebody, oh man, I'm getting a cold. Have one of these. I'm getting a cold. On the word, I'm getting a cold. I'm in there with aconite. I don't use aconite so much for the emotional space that aconite is helpful for, but for the first sign of things, anything. For a big shift, it seems, in the body. There's some guy, even if he gets hurt badly, I'll tend to use it there with the arnica and have good results. But mostly it's for first sign of a cold.
But also we know that aconite is a wonderful shock remedy, a shock to the system, and it comes on pretty quickly. It's something that's rapidly acting.
Quick change, things that change quick in the body too. I'm getting a cold is a quick change, and for the body, right?
And in Toronto, you do have the weather.
And so that's mainly what I use it for. Of course, death and injury on set, people watching, you will use it there too. But that doesn't happen so much. God should be so kind, it should never happen.
Okay, Dr. Sharma, did you have more information about the aconite remedy that's in his kit?
Yes, about the aconite, I always say one thing, that this is the first line of rescue remedy in any time. When you are thinking about the weather, you are thinking about the emotional changes, you are thinking about the injury. Aconite is always the first remedy as a rescue. And in many cases, aconite works very well in the chronic cases also. There is a sudden attack of sadness or a sudden attack of emotions are there, and they affect in the chronic diseases. Aconite works always, and aconite is really wonderful remedy for me.
And the 30C potency in his kit is just as effective as a lower potency, a 6C, or a higher potency, a 200C.
If we are talking about the acute cases, we are always using a lower potency like 30 or 200. And if it is used in chronic cases, it will be best active with the 10 potency. That is what will be 10,000 potency in the chronic cases.
In chronic cases, it's a which potency?
10,000 M.
An M, okay. So those are very high, and you would definitely have to get those from your homeopath.
Yes.
Also, you have in your kit the Nux vomica. Do you have a story to tell about that remedy?
Nux vomica. I remember going down to deliver 2 of those big kits to a guy who was living in apartment buildings on the waterfront. He was going to go golfing, and I wanted him to make sure that he took the kits because I wanted him to try the rescue remedy to see how it would affect his golfing, because some golfers use it to keep themselves calm, and it works very well. And I went down to the hotel Saturday morning. I ran, the concierge called him, no answer. I went up to his apartment, banged on the door, no answer. He was a very high-tech guy, a big worker, little wee guy, but had been in the army. I didn't know where he was. Maybe he was out running. I went home. I left the 2 kits at the front desk. I went home. The phone rings. As soon as I get in the door, the phone rings. It's the guy. Oh, John, I'm sorry. He says, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I got drinking with my army buddies last night. Oh, it was terrible. I am so hungover, and so is my buddy. Oh, we're going to play, though. We're going to play. Honest to God, we'll play. We'll get it together. I said, oh, really? I said, okay, run down to the concierge. Get the kit. Each of you take a pill of Nux vomica. On your way to the golf course, stop by the house and pay me the money. You owe me $100 for each of the kits. Okay, John. Oh, I feel terrible. And he hung up the phone. An hour later, I'm sitting in my front porch, and up comes this pickup truck, a very expensive one with the 6, seats behind the front seats and all that. And 2 guys, my friend and his buddy and his buddy's wife, well, they get out and they are laughing and giggling, and you can't believe what good moods they're in. You can't believe what good moods they're in. And the guy, the friend, comes up the driveway, up the front walk before the guy and says, I don't know what's in that stuff, but can you sell me a kit? Will you sell me one of your kits? He was adamant. And that was Nux vomica, hangover remedy. And the first time I ever used it ever in my life, really for that reason, was a woman who was standing beside me, working herself to the bone in Africa when we were doing To Walk with Lions, and we were in Nairobi, and she was the coordinator and the production manager. She was doing everything, and she said, gee, John, I have such a headache, I feel hungover. And I said, oh, there's a remedy for hangover, and I got out Nux vomica. I only had C6 at that time. I gave her a dose, and half an hour later she turned to me and said, John, my headache's going away. And I can tell you dozens of stories that start that way and are all Nux vomica. And they're all for overwork, for too much work. The words too much are clues to me to think about Nux vomica. Too much of anything.
Too much. Okay, too much. It sounds, that's a good clue, and I usually think of the words I can't. So, because...
If I can't, or I wouldn't be doing this.
Uh-huh. Well... These are really great stories. I hope that you're going to intersperse a number of them into your documentary so that people learn about not only the bee sting therapy, it's apitherapy. How do you pronounce it? Apitherapy?
Apitherapy.
Yeah.
Well, apitherapy is only, I am taking one homeopathic remedy right now, Merck. Merck 10M is what I take every day.
Uh-huh.
And one pill. And then the stings every other day. No, this is part of a the bee stings are part of a protocol. I'd like to hope that they will be the tilt that takes me to good, the tipping point.
Do you know of other people who have used this therapy specifically for your illness?
Not me, but my brother said, he told me a story about a woman. And I said, oh, well, you must have known her for a long time. He said, John, I'm standing in North Bay, Ontario, talking to a lady, and this lady overhears me, and she comes over and says, what are you talking about? And I'm talking about these things, I say, and using it to heal people, even cancer. And she said, well, I've had cancer. I had mastectomies, and I've had the chemo, and I've had the radiation, and it's still there. And, if you do something, I wouldn't mind trying it. My brother said, well, here's my card. Come out to my farm and bring somebody who's going to help you do it. And she came out a couple of days later, presented herself, and he gave her a little hive like I have and taught her husband how to do it. And 6 months later, at 20 stings every other day, she was clear of cancer.
That's very hopeful. So each individual does the therapy on their own, on an alternate daily basis.
Not necessarily. They're all different kinds of work. All the clinics in Ohio. I'm going to visit a clinic in Ohio. But Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights in Wellington, I think it's Wellington, Ohio. Don Downs, who is a member of the American Apitherapy Association, one of their executives, is the bee man there, and he has a clinic and he stings bees for 4 or 5 hours a night. That can be for arthritis or MS or for cancer or for any number of other things. I'm going down as much to learn as to photograph.
So you're telling me that they're doing it in a medical setting?
No, not in a medical setting, in a clinic setting. Where it's a clinic. It's not a medical clinic. It's an apitherapy clinic.
I see. And this is located where in your country?
Oh, in Ohio. Ohio is part of America. I'm going to send you a map.
Thank you, John.
Hey, anything I can do to help you.
Keeping everything straight is helpful.
Yeah.
It's been Dr. Sharma, did you have a comment right now?
Yes, I am really excited to know more about the epitherapy, and I would like to see how it is doing with this and the therapy. And I will meet soon. I will definitely say it is really great experience. Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we did not ask Dr. Sharma whether they do that same type of therapy in other countries, like in his country in India. So maybe we'll learn.
Just a moment. In India, there's a girl who comes to me and gets bees, or did, and she has MS. She's Indian, Muslim. I don't know from where in India. She consciously, purposely went with her father to India to go to a clinic where she was taught bee sting, and where they stung her MS, and where she could say very clearly, "I feel better, even with the 10 stings I've taken over the 3 days."
Oh, it seems like Victor, who is on the chat, says that they do use this therapy even by MDs in Hungary, where he's located.
Russia, huge. In Russia, huge.
In Russia, it's huge. Okay, so this is fascinating, and we would like to have you back on in a bit to find out how your progress is, and hopefully you're going to be dancing on your toes, doing really great. We didn't really get into a lot homeopathically about Apis mellifica and the wonderful healing potency and symptoms of that honeybee, but we do know that it is sweet for the soul. And we're going to hope that you're going to be doing great in the coming months. We're going to be on again next Monday at 11. We'll let you know upcoming who or what we're going to be talking about. In the meantime, on Wednesday morning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, USA, Dr. Adil Chimthalawala Kasim will be back with us on Blog Talk Radio, talking about our heart, healing, and all the rubrics in the chest section of Kent's repertory. On Thursday at noon, we will have Alan Phillips talking about the controversial issues of vaccinations and vaccinations in your rights in the United States. Again, we would like to thank all those who called in, Kavitha Kukanur, who wrote Beyond the Limits, the book, and to John Board in his experiences with apitherapy and homeopathic remedies. Let's support him and find a way to donate to him to get his kits up and running and help more people out there. And to Dr. Sharma for calling in from India, from New Delhi. So that's our show for today, and we love you all for listening and sharing these great shows. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you,
tuned to the
John.
Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Sundays 9 a.m. to noon. Health In with Debby Bruck, Mondays 11 a.m. till noon. The Scope of Things with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays 7 to 8 p.m. Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays 8 to 9 p.m. Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, Wednesdays 8 to 9 p.m. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com.